This episode of Penn Point starts right now. This episode of Penn Point is brought to you by Jack Threads. I want to talk about this, about a magic word. There's this new magic word. By new, I mean my lifetime, past 50 years. It's a new magic word that's allowing all this nuttiness to go on. And the magic word is Christian. And you kind of think that word has been around forever, but until you have that word used the way it's used today, you can't have people like Michelle Bachmann and Rick Perry saying the crazy shit they're saying. And I'll tell you why. I've been doing all these atheists, all these TV shows, as the atheist guy. And because Michelle Bachmann said that,
I don't know how much God has to do to get the attention of the politicians. We've had an earthquake, we've had a hurricane. He said, are you going to start listening to me here? Listen to the American people, because the American people are roaring right now.
Stuff about the hurricane and the earthquakes. And I got to tell you, I sit around with my atheist friends trying to say the most blasphemous things we can think of. And we use, poetry, pornography, cartoon images, everything to be as blasphemous as possible. And we cannot touch, on our worst day, on our most intense day, we can't touch Michelle Bachmann saying that that the earthquakes and the hurricanes that, caused all that suffering were a message to Washington that Michelle Bachmann was, telling the truth. I mean, you can't get more blasphemous than that. And for blasphemy, atheists are just pikers. We can't touch the serious blasphemy that comes from believers. But, she could not have said that if she was, I'm going to look down here and see, she could not have said that if she were speaking as the member of the church. Let me see here. If she had been a message from the Salem Lutheran Church, which she used to belong to, which was a cult, and she denies this, but it's documented other places. It was a cult that said that the Pope was the Antichrist, okay? Now, if she'd have been a member of that particular Salem Lutheran Church, now even if you have a broad definition of Lutheran, you get 13.5 million Lutherans. That's a broad definition of Lutheran, not just her Salem Lutheran. Now, 13.5 million doesn't give you anything. It's not enough to be president. So she can't say that as a Lutheran. And that's where the word Christian comes in. There's this book called Free Thinkers. It's a great book by Susan Jacoby, 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 I don't know. Anyway, Susan, I'll call her Susie. But there's this book called Free Thinkers, and I read it 5 or 6 years ago. I read it a long time ago, so I don't remember it in detail. I haven't looked back. But her point about the word Christian. See, back at the end of the 19th century, atheism was like a hip happening thing. 3 of your top public speakers were atheists speaking on atheism. You had Robert Ingersoll, you had Mark Twain, and you had Thomas Huxley, who was Darwin's bulldog. Now, Ingersoll had speeches about Shaw and about Shakespeare, and of course Mark Twain had all his non-atheist stuff. But their speeches they were given at the time were atheist speeches. They made a lot of coin. And politicians wanted to invite Ingersoll, an agnostic and an atheist, to the White House to show that they weren't in bed with other cults. Because in the 19th century America, the way Susan in Free Thinkers explains it, is everybody was afraid of all the other sects. The bug-nutty Methodists were afraid of the bug-nutty Lutherans, and the snake handlers were afraid of the poison drinkers, and the Catholics were afraid of the Protestants, and that meant everybody was really, really divided. And then she says, during the 60s, with Roe v. Wade, 60s, 70s, they wanted to get together to fight abortion. So they invented this word. Now, the word Christian, of course, existed. You know, it's used in the Bible. But they had this new invention of the word Christian where people could just say they were Christian instead of Baptist and instead of so on. And then Jimmy Carter goes, you know, apeshit with this. Now, John F. Kennedy had to do a whole speech on the separation of church and state.
I believe in an America where the separation of church and state is absolute. For no Catholic prelate would tell the president, should he be Catholic, how to act. And no Protestant minister would tell his parishioners for whom to vote.
To make people feel safe that the Catholic, he was going to use his power as a president and a Catholic to take over. So he doesn't use the word Christian. He just tries to say separation of church and state. He's back in that old way of thinking. By the time you get to Jimmy Carter, he's saying born again. And by the time you get to, and I heard this on NPR, I don't know if it's true. Do I believe stuff on NPR? I don't know. Do you? But the president who talked about God the most in history and appeared the most at churches was Slick Willie. It was Bill Clinton, who was a real religious slut. He'd go to any church anywhere. Now, see, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what sect it is. It's Christian. And Obama just claims to be Christian, not that crazy Chicago fucking church he belonged to. Palin claims to be Christian, not her, you know, talking snake church that's there. So it's the word Christian, because if Rick Perry used to belong to, what is it? It's some Baptist church. Yeah, he used to belong to the Lake Hills Baptist Church, and they dropped the word Baptist specifically to do this bigger tent to include more and more people. And when he gave his little lecture there, his big apolitical political rally, he was careful to call it non-denominational. It was just called Christian. And now we're going to have Mitt Romney try to claim that his, you know, magic underwear wearing Garden of Eden in North America, all that weird shit that the Mormons believe, he's going to try to claim that that's just Christian. Get this big umbrella. Now, I want to tell you, atheists are growing wicked fierce fast. I mean, they've gone from 2% to 8% in just the 21st century. If you throw in self-labeled agnostics, I'm checking notes here, that's what I'm looking down. Check out self-labeled agnostics, non-religious. Some people have gotten the atheist, agnostic, humanist, secular, free-thinking cult numbers up to about 20%. Now, evangelicals are 26%, Catholics are 23%, Jewish 1.7%, Mormons 1.7%. If you break the Christians up into little groups, the atheists are just about as powerful as any group. It's this word, this magic word Christian, that's come in the later part of the 20th century that allows nuts like Rick Perry and Palin and Michelle Bachmann and even Obama, who claims to be Christian, to do this big thing where we're all Christians. I just want them to just keep going, please, with the politicians who are using the word Christian. Please expand that just a little more. You've included Baptists and Methodists and Catholics and Lutherans. You've included them all in this big word, Christian, this magic word. Can you go just a little further, just this much further, and go to the word American? And can we just go that much further and go to the word human? Can we just include everybody? Christian isn't enough. Christian doesn't get all the people. Let's get them all in. Humanity, okay? Okay? It's that magic word Christian that has fucked us. At least go back to Baptist, okay? Only suckers pay full price. If you love alternative apparel brands like Kid Robot, Hurley, and Stussy, but hate wasting all your cash on them, listen up. You can score these premium brands at up to 80% off every day. There's a new invite-only shopping club just for guys called Jack Threads, serving up street, skate, and surfwear brands at prices that will melt your brain. There's a wait list to join, but if you head to jackthreads.com/pen, P-E-N-N, you'll get instant access to all the killer hookups. Go now! Oh, and to be mentioned that it's free to join, hit up jackthreads.com/pen, P-E-N-N, and you'll instantly start saving without having to leave the house.